I think Vergil Ortiz, from a pure talent perspective, has as much potential as anyone, and he can be a multi-division champion. Welcome to Jabs on Dazn. Sergio, we are just hours away from the return of boxing on Dazn. I can see the excitement all over your face.
That excitement is I want to get out of the house. I want to get back to work. I want to get away from my 5-year-old, my 2-year-old. I want out, Chris. I want to feel alive again. I want that adrenaline running to my body. And if it's to call boxing, man, hallelujah.
No, wait, that's not excitement. That's just the damage Daniel Jacobs inflicted to your face.
Oh, stop.
We start with this week's main event, Vergil Ortiz Jr. going up against Samuel Vargas in Golden Boy's return to boxing Friday night. Ortiz Jr. is a massive favorite as he looks for his 16th win of his young professional career. Sergio, what do you want to see from Ortiz against Vargas?
I want to see Ortiz continue his destructive ways. I mean, he has a 100% knockout ratio. I want number 16 on there. I want him to send a message to the 147-pound weight division. Send a message and be the third fighter alongside Errol Spence and Danny Garcia to stop Vargas. That'll send a message. Send a message to the fans that he's willing to fight when there's no fans around. That's a big message. And just to boxing, that he belongs on the main stage and his time has arrived. It's the Vergil Ortiz show now.
Yeah, I don't want to see Vergil Ortiz screw around in this fight. I mean, I think he is in an entirely different class than Samuel Vargas. Sam Vargas has been in with some good fighters. Like you mentioned, you could throw Amir Khan, Luis Collazo onto that list. But every time he steps up in competition, he loses. And half the time, he gets knocked out. So I don't want to see Vergil Ortiz, dance around this at all. I want to see him go at him and try to finish him early. Because even though you're fighting a guy that's below you, you can send a message if you beat him in a different or quicker way than some other top fighters have beat him. If he knocks out Samuel Vargas in like the third round, that's something that Spence didn't do. That's something that Danny Garcia didn't do. You can send a real message about where you are if you just obliterate this guy. And I'd like to see Ortiz go out there and have that attitude. Don't be reckless, but go out there and look for the knockout. And if it's there, pick it up early.
Discipline, destruction. That's what we want to see from Vergil Ortiz.
Sticking with Ortiz, he has recently discussed his desire for a world title shot. In a recent Instagram Live, Ortiz's trainer, Robert Garcia, said that Ortiz will be ready for anybody in a year or two. Sergio, how bright is the future for Vergil Ortiz?
He's scorching hot. He's white or blue. Whatever's hottest. The hottest. He's serious hot. I'm talking about the brightest star in the universe. That's how hot he is. He's scorching. But he has to take care of business by continuing his destructive ways. But the sky's the limit. The universe is the limit. This kid is no joke and destined for greatness.
Yeah, I think Vergil Ortiz has as much talent and as much potential as any fighter in boxing. If you were making a list of the top prospects in boxing, and if you were having a fantasy draft of guys on that list, I'd probably take Ryan Garcia first, because Garcia, in addition to his talent, has, the charisma and he has the following in terms of social media that will elevate him to a different level. But in terms of pure talent, you're looking at Vergil Ortiz on that same level as a Shakur Stevenson, some of these other guys that are at the top of this prospect kind of division. Ortiz has a little bit of everything. He's got the power, obviously. How he knocked out Herrera, that was a big power shot. One-punch knockout that put Herrera down at the end of that fight. He chased down Antonio Orozco and beat him down that one. He chased down Brad Solomon and beat him down in that one. He also has what I think is completely underrated technique. You watch Vergil Ortiz, Sergio, and I see a fighter that doesn't fight with his hands low. I see a fighter that has a high guard, doesn't get hit heck of a lot, goes to the body as often as he does the head. He has a skill set that I think really belies his age and his career point right now. So I think Vergil Ortiz, from a pure talent perspective, has as much potential as anyone, and he can be a multi-division champion. He's not going to get the Errol Spences of the world or the Garcias or any of the other top guys, the Pacquiaos, but there are so many other fighters that Ortiz can have big fights with down the line, whether it's Devin Haney at some point at 147, you've got Jose Ramirez eventually jumping up to 147. There are going to be some good fights for Vergil Ortiz. And once these guys kind of clear out of the welterweight division over the next couple of years, they're going to be titles for him to win.
Vergil Ortiz has the power, he has the temperament, the mind frame, and he has the team behind him. So he has everything going for him. But the number one thing I want to touch here is the fact that Vergil Ortiz, he lives, breathes, and eats boxing. Ryan Garcia, you mentioned the Instagram. He talks about only having 5 more years in this sport, wanting to be a model, an actor. I mean, he has other ambitions in his future. Vergil Ortiz has one in mind. That's destruction and destroy, in the words of Marvin Hagler.
See, the question I have about Ortiz, Sergio, and one I don't think we're going to learn in a fight like this, learn the answer to in a fight like this, is how does he respond to getting hit? It's like Tyson always said, everybody's got a plan until you get hit. And up until this point, Ortiz hasn't been facing those types of power punches. I mean, in your career, I'm sure there was a point where you faced someone that could crack a little bit. And I'm sure that was different than a lot of the fights you were into up until that point. I want to see Vergil Ortiz in with a guy that can punch, somebody that might put him in a little bit of danger. And if he gets through that, that's when I'm going to know a lot more about Vergil Ortiz.
I think it was the great Pernell Whitaker that once they asked him if he had a chin, can he take a big shot? And he says, I don't want to find out. That's exactly where we're at right now. Vergil Ortiz doesn't have Pernell Whitaker defense, and that's the same question we could ask for Ryan Garcia as well. We don't know if he can get hit. That's always $1 million question when it comes to boxers, and when it comes to boxers climbing the ladder really fast. How are they going to react when they're hurt? And that's part of being a champion. You discover it.
If Samuel Vargas has any chance of winning this fight on Friday night, he's going to have to put Ortiz in some trouble. And I'm just not sure that he's got the kind of power to do that. And finally, earlier this week, Mike Tyson posted a new video of himself working out in a boxing ring. Despite recently turning 54 years old, Tyson seems to be in incredible shape and toying with the idea of a return to the ring. Sergio, after seeing the video, do you think it's more or less likely that Tyson is planning a comeback?
I love Mike Tyson. Everyone loves Mike Tyson. And I'm sure most people, and especially the casual fans, would love to see Mike Tyson return. But the people that know what they're watching, no, I don't want Mike Tyson to return. His greatness is in the past. He's 54 years old. Of course he's going to look good hitting the pads. He's controlling his breathing. No one's punching back at him. No, Mike, Iron Mike, please, do not come back. Your legacy is set. He's an icon. He's an idol. No. I don't want to see him back in the ring. I hope it's false. I hope this comeback just gets put in the back and squelched.
Yeah, I don't need to see Mike Tyson back in the ring, but I do think we're going to see Mike Tyson back in the ring. I don't know what form that's going to be, whether it's, kind of an old man exhibition with Evander Holyfield or something a little more real. I've actually heard the name Roy Jones tossed out a lot as a potential candidate to fight Mike Tyson. I'm not so sure that's a good idea for Roy Jones. I mean, Roy Jones, for most of his career, was fast, elusive, a top light heavyweight, but in recent years, he's not only been knocked out, he's been knocked out badly by a lot of opponents. And Mike Tyson still has the power to knock Roy Jones out. But I think that Mike Tyson is still committed to coming back in some form. So I think we will see him back in the ring. Maybe it's only a 3-round exhibition. Maybe it's a 10-round exhibition. Maybe it's headgear. Maybe it's not. But I do think we're going to see Tyson back in boxing. And this video is just more evidence of that.
The greater the boxer, the greater the ego. And, pencil necks like yourself can't tell a great fighter that he shouldn't come back. But I don't think it's a good idea. I think they should leave their legacy in the past and move forward.
You weren't a great fighter. I'll tell you shouldn't come back.
Oh, stop, you pencil neck. I'll crack you like that still.
I'm not a boxer. Fortunately, when you face other boxers, you don't crack them either.
You're not much of a writer either, Mannix, so just stop.